planning an attack. And all those signals are basically like, dude, I'm serious, right? And if at the end it doesn't bite, it will look like a show.
Question: we actually need the U.S. to go get through the Fordo. We need the B2s, right?
The mother of all.
Oh my God, I'm not talking to you.
That's beautiful. I thought
Anti-Semite
Israel
piece of shit. I'm talking to another adult on the stage. Are you a dimwit? I'm speaking to another adult. Clearly, so put a muzzle on it. Anyway, adult Daniel, did you hear what I said?
Yes, we need either to do it with one bomb on Fordo, and if not, that will be like repeated operations on the same spot with smaller bombs, and it will create enough damage. Maybe not like destroy it like the Moab, but will create enough damage to render it basically like unrepairable.
And that can be, but how much?
Just take long.
How much would that? How much longer, or how many bombs, or what's the pros and cons? I guess it's more costly. It uses more, infiltrate.
It's quite an operation because we need to fly all the way from Israel, so there's a lot of refueling that are happening on both directions for many planes at the same time. We have like dozens of planes at the same time in the air, and it will require carrying like few thousand bombs. Few 1,000-pound bombs there and dropping it on the same point over and over and over again. I guess it will extend it by at least, a week, 10 days. I don't know exactly.
It's not even that populated of an area. It's right next to Ulm, which is it's where the mullahs are manufactured essentially, and then Fordo itself is only 1,500 people. It's 1,000 people that live there. So it's not actually dense population-wise. I don't understand why we have to wait 2 weeks to do this mission, and we should get involved. When have we cared about
approaching there, because we are kind of taking more of Iran by removing air defense system. We have control on west of Iran and now over Tehran, but not the entire Iran yet. We are kind of working our way, destroying IRGC bases and air defenses, and then you need to also destroy the defenses around Fordo. So it's not necessarily waiting. It's one of the objectives.
Oh, not you. I meant the Americans.
Because they weighing all the future possibilities of what would really say, history-wise, position-wise, finance-wise, what would the IRGC do? Now that I think I heard there's a warning from the FBI, I didn't confirm it yet, about attacks from Iran and Hezbollah on American soil. I don't know if anyone saw this. So that weighing all there's a lot, I guess, to weigh in. United States has their people way more distributed than Israel, with bases everywhere, with officers, counselors, companies, whatever.
Yeah, well.
Can I talk about the dishes again?
Sure. There's lots in the link that you sent there. They come in all different shapes and sizes.
Do you need to know where to point it, or you just put it up? Or do you also need to know how to point it exactly?
You guys made Tim run away.
We made what?
Tim Randall's run away.
It wasn't missed.
It says it automatically adjusts it. You don't have to know where to point.
There's no manual adjustment, Daniel.
All right, well, at least this. After you did all those.
The problem is also if it's raining, right? If it's if the skies aren't clear, then you have a problem.
Because again, we said it's not about size; it's also about speed.
Yes.
And the speed will be hindered by the weather if it gets too wet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, enough.
Oh my God. We really are going to start using the dishing thing for other things here. Are you going to get dished this weekend?
It should be some kind of a sexual activity. It sounds like it.
Especially when you're in the installation should be the most the most sensual part of it all. Don't you agree, Daniel June?
I think the automatic adjustment actually.
It's automatic. It's not manual. So
Yeah, but
you don't even have to
imagine
think
how,
about
like,
that part.
Yeah, but you see the dish like moving to the right angle, exactly the right angle. If you know what.
I wish I'd forgotten, but I'm glad you do.
Where is Soren in these days?
Yeah, where is he?
Peace be upon him.
I think he's in Porto. No, I'm kidding. All right, this has been fun, you guys, but I have to work. Talk to you guys later.
See you later.
Bye.
I think yesterday was Aya's birthday.
Mazel tov.
Yeah.
So now the Iranians are using I don't know how to call it, like a missile that when it has one body, but at the end it splits to many parts and kind of fires like different directions. How?
Cluster bombs.
Cluster bombs, yes. Which is like, how can you justify it as like targeting anything when they use it against like cities? And where's like all the condemnations? And no one, I'm also wondering, did the ABC and CNN and Fox and BBC already send journalists because they were complaining about not being allowed to go to war zones? Are they all the way to Tehran to report? Because I'm not getting reports from international media.
May I ask a question? Did you guys kick out?
Questions at the end.
Did you guys kick out Tim?
I did not. But if someone did,
I
I'm
put him down for about I didn't kick him out. He left.
Oh, okay. No, because he sent me a strange message. He says, oh, because he said something about like when you sleep with dogs, you wake up with fleas or something like that. And so I said, why are you so angry, dude? Like, we were just joking in that room. And he's like, oh, now you're victim blaming. I'm like, what? What do you mean victim blaming? So I thought that maybe you guys kicked him out.
He told you that when you sleep with dogs, you wake up with fleas?
Hmm?
He told you that if you sleep with dogs, you wake up with fleas?
Yeah, something like
Hello?
that. Yeah? Yeah, he said that.
Okay.
But I mean, they've been telling me that for ages, right? Like one day I will wake up and everybody would have stabbed me in the back.
Well, at least you wake up with them, it's not guaranteed. Yeah, that was funny, but never mind.
Anyway. Yeah, he's fighting me in the chat. I don't want to answer anymore. Right now. I don't want to fight. I'm in a good mood. So anyway, do we have any updates from this stuff, Daniel? Like, I did not listen to news yesterday.
Well, there was an attack now, a strong one. Like today, 21 hit, 2 severely.
Have you guys been hit again?
Yes, and they're using, this is what I said before, they're using the blaster bombing missile.
The
meaning that
hypersonic one.
No, that they basically, there's like one body that comes, and then when it that it's close, it basically splits to different
Direction.
like ordinance, and then it just goes all over to different targets at the same time, just randomly, just like not just one hit, basically.
And you guys are not able to intercept those?
No, we can, but it's many more. But on the other hand, they're smaller, but they just like go everywhere. So they hit like.
So it's like they fragment at some point and they start going everywhere?
Yeah, like big fragments, like big pieces. Yeah. And it's so one hit a mosque, one hit like a kindergarten, some hit a building.
But right now, kids are not at school, right?
No, in any case, even if they're not, but first of all, it's Friday also.
Yeah, thinking that it's weekend.
But no, schools is closed. But even if they are, they know what to do when there's an alarm, and there's only school or work where there is like access to a safe room, which many have. Like basically every building that was built in the last, 30 years have a safe area. Or public.
Do you guys want to go to the MAGA house? Oh, Simon's here.
So let's change topic. Simon's here. Let's not talk about him anymore. He's here.
Shall we go to the MAGA house?
You want us to open a room for you?
People come there instead of here. This is more like a banter group.
You want someone to open a room for you, Isa?
Or Meyer, that he's the owner. Meyer, do you allow Simon?
Did you write them, by the way?
I thought I did, but I didn't send the email. I'm going to send it today. Okay, let's open a room in the MAGA one. And if you guys can, please. I go there with my ticket. And I'll send the email while I'm there with you.
So Simon's opening?
Whoever, you, Meyer, Simon, just not me.
I'm just not used to being on the top left.
Okay, Simon, can you open it? Oh no, Meyer went.
Oh, okay. See, Meyer does. Everybody talks.
Yeah, exactly. He's a doer. I hate the people that drive like that.
They have no resources. They don't have people to update websites. These are the things that we can do. If you know a kid who's a good web coder, pay him $100 and say, hey, listen, go volunteer at this website. These are things that we can do that have real impact right now, because where ICE is. ICE is all over Oxnard right now, but the local little organizations that are putting out the alerts, they don't have the people to really notify people quickly and to get a message to people. How do you, if you see an ICE truck, what do? Take a picture, get a location, send it ASAP to this telephone number, and they will post it online and announce it.
You can also accompany people. You can sign up. I mean, this is a little more radical, right? You can sign up to go. I don't know how it works, but you do what Brad Lander did. And I actually, let me get more facts on this before I put it out there. But he goes in as a public official into a federal building, and he accompanies somebody who's going in for a hearing, and then physically links arms with him and walks out with him, and then they kind of document and shine more light on what's happening in those spaces, which is happening like every day. But let me try and find out more about that. But in general, I would say supporting them, yes, but I just don't want to underestimate how incredibly well informed these groups are, Rick. I think I've seen how they operate, and it is, well, Charlotte maybe knows a little bit more about this, but I mean, they're very well organized, but obviously need resources.
Well, yeah. I mean, they are organized, but I mean, I get calls every day that we need people. They're organized, but they don't have people. And they don't have the resource. They don't have money. They're very small organizations, most of them. You know, the one in LA is significantly larger than what we have here. We have Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, San Luis Obispo County, all big farming communities. And, you know, there's 8 people, all volunteers for the organization. So it's really, really tough for them right now. So, you know, search, if you want to really help, you're not going to get a whole lot of people that are going to take their jobs off and go and drive people around. You just won't get it. But we can donate $10. We can try to recruit a kid that knows how to do coding and say, listen, I'll pay you $100 to work for this organization for 8 hours and help them with their website. Those are things that probably most of us in this room could do without any, it wouldn't hurt us at all. And we really have to start helping these little organizations, because the big ones can make the noise. The big national organizations can make the noise, but these little organizations locally, they are really doing some hard work, and they are struggling right now because they used to get grants. They don't get grants anymore. Those grants have dried up. And so it's up to us to feed them until we can get things back on track.
I saw that Aram came up, which I see David. First of all, perusing. Hey, everybody! A quick round robin to recognize everyone: Charlotte, Ben, David, Sue, Barbara, Your Honor, Dr. Francine, and I just haven't heard from Aram in a while. Maybe others have. Were you inspired to come up, or were you just responding? I think maybe I invited you up. Did you want to share on this point, Aram?
Yeah, I mean, I would co-sign a lot of what Rick said. I mean, all of what Rick said, really. I would maybe go even a little bit harder on the give to locals, don't give to nationals. Indivisible National does not need your money. I guarantee you. I know intimately they don't need your money. If you want to give money to Indivisible, find your local Indivisible, give money to them. And even better, if you're in LA or in California, give to Chila, CHIRLA. Amazing organization. They're doing the work. And in addition to everything that Rick said, a lot of these people are directly impacted. So their capacity is actually down because they've got people they need to directly care for in addition to everything else. So yeah, I just, co-sign that 1,000%. There's Causa Justa, there's all kinds of them. And, I know the California one's better because that's where I am. And yeah, I would just, stamp that point of find the local group that's on the ground, that's deeply embedded within the community, because they're the ones that actually are going to have the power and connections to really support people directly. Whereas these national organizations, there's some that redistribute their money, that do really important work. There's, the National Immigration Law Center might be a good place to give, but the sort of big umbrella progressive orgs, I just would put my resources elsewhere.
Interesting. Charlotte, I don't know if you're with us or you heard that. I know you're familiar with some of the local groups in the New York area, since they said New York was next.
Hi.
You might not want to shout if you're comfortable.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I co-sign what Aaron said too in terms of giving local. Well, I definitely support giving to the local indivisible. I think, I'm trying to think who I know in New York. Let me get back to you. My brain's like all over the place this morning. Hold on.
Yeah, but pretty much any community is going to have some kind, especially if there's a farming community, if there's a union, go talk to the union people because they will know these organizations. If there's a UFW branch anywhere near you, they can point you in the right direction. But every little community, because I know there's one in Oxnard, there's one in Ventura, there's one in Santa Barbara, there's one in even little towns will have, but they'll have 2 people working for them, and they're unpaid people. And many times, as Aram said, is these people are actually caring for people in their family. So the stress that they are under right now is really massive. Yesterday in LA, car washes. They were hitting car washes all over the LA. Car washes are closed. Restaurants, they're going after restaurants. They're going into Home Depots. They hit more Home Depots. These are not the criminals that they are going after. What they are doing is they are trying to change the narrative where if you cross the border, you are a criminal. And they're trying to put that they're trying to tie somebody that crossed the border for work with a rapist or a murderer. And there are rapists and murderers. There's plenty of them. There's plenty of citizens who are rapists and murderers. But what they are trying to do is they're trying to form a connection in people's mind that brown people are rapists and murderers and thieves, and they're here to scam you. And they're doing that every single day. They're repeating, hoping that it will take hold. And it has taken hold. And we've got to change that narrative. That it's up to us. We know what they're doing. We've known it for a long time. We're not resisting it. And so we have to be the resistance. And instead of complaining about them, we have to start changing the narrative. Because complaining about them ain't gonna do it.
In Arizona, the organization that does the most with immigrants' rights and protections is the ACLU of Arizona, and they are literally on the ground dealing with the immigrants themselves who are caught up in all these issues. So if you're going to support anything in Phoenix, the ACLU AZ or ACLU of Arizona is the immigrant rights group to support.
Yeah, it's very scary right now, and it's not like it's any secret what they're doing. He says, "I am coming after blue states." Now, the bigger goal of this is they want to destroy blue state economies. Why? Because people will move out of the states. It will destroy the economies, and with an election coming up next year, if the blue states' economies are destroyed, they will have more talking points for the election. So you got to think long term what their strategy is.
And Rick, but I think it's even further than that. Like, I completely agree with you, but I think it's even beyond that, which is, you know, they are going at this playbook, dismantling, you know, what they consider to be elite institutions, you know, the other people that might be non-political or non-MAGA that have money, and going after blue states and, you know, sanctuary states. It's not just about the elections. I think it's I'm sorry, it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it just goes back to Project 2025. It's not just about winning elections for them. It's much bigger.
I just wonder if it's possible, and I've been out of, you know, the real estate industry for a long time, but the real estate industry is doing worse in America, and I mean all of America, this year than it did last year. And last year it was doing as bad as it had been doing since like the first year of the pandemic. And there are a lot of real estate people, including this fellow in California, Rick Caruso. But, you know, people in the real estate business have a lot of money, a lot of political connections, and are usually very involved in community development activities. And they are going to end up coming out of the woodwork and screaming, because they are the big donors to things. And I'm just curious where they are. There's an organization in Phoenix called Valley Partnership, where all the real estate people, you know, in some ways it's a bullshit organization, because it's very, very developer, you know, friendly and very developer forward. But what it does is things on behalf of the community that are helped out by the real estate industry. And I would be curious what the positions of the real estate industry are right now. And maybe you would know, Aaron?
I mean, it really depends on where, but I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of smoke for the real estate industry. I mean, they've advanced the kind of politics that has left a lot of working people behind, and in particular the very large real estate companies. That,
oh, for sure. I'm not arguing that, but
so I think where they are is trying to protect their money. And I think that they're, you know, I would guess like many business owners are not real happy about the instability and how it impacts them. But I don't know, if we're waiting for the real estate developers to make moves to address the kinds of problems we have right now, I think we're going to be waiting too long.
Maybe it's local, you know, because I have a feeling I'm going to go do some research about that, because, you know, in Arizona, we have been growing so fast. We have people moving in so quickly that we need labor. You know, I mean, there's like a lot of things that we need in the industry. We need interest rates to go down. We need affordable housing. You know, there's a whole lot of stuff that the industry has been working towards. And of course, we need the buyers, and the buyers are often immigrants. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem there is, I mean, when you already went through this in Arizona, right? We did the same thing in California, like the extreme anti-immigrant hate in politics. Like, we were the laboratories. And frankly, it should give us a lot of hope that when this happens, there's a very severe political backlash, which I think is coming. But, like, the real estate developers didn't deal with Joe Arpaio, right? Like, they didn't organize.
No, the ACLU did.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say even more than the ACLU, which was an organization which had been there for a very long time, that Lucha really was the central organizing point for, the movement that pushed back against the Arpaio and et al. BS that was going down in Arizona. So I feel like that would be an organization I would definitely give to in Arizona, who's done amazing work. But I just think like the developers, even if they were to get their way wouldn't, in general, I'm sure there are some really good-hearted real estate developers, but as a general rule, they're in it for the money, and they want cheap labor to exploit, and they want margin. And those like profit motives are at odds with the humanitarian crisis that we're at right now. I mean, they may sometimes align kind of, sort of, but if we're talking about real change over time, it's not going to be through.
Oh, yeah. But I'm just thinking, who has influence in communities who can stop things that are happening right now, like the deportation of necessary labor in communities?
Donors, shareholders,
Yeah,
business people with the stake in that. That's what
right. That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say.
You mean the same ones that already called and said this is a problem, you need to stop it, and he supposedly stopped it, but then restarted it, but focusing on.
Yeah, but then he can, him. He restarts and stops things. We could get
2 weeks. 2 weeks delayed action.
2 weeks, exactly. But you have to try everything.
Yeah. To Aaron's point, and to you, Dr. Francine, the way to put pressure on these developers is actually, and I never thought, I think a lot of, is to actually go through the housing commissioners. I didn't realize.
You're becoming such an institution person.
I know. It's kind of crazy. I did not realize how much power we had, as commissioners. But, like, for instance, my board, we just approved, 2 months ago, approved a developer contract. And now we're going to yank it because we just, learned, at least I just learned a number of things from another agency that used the same developer that disturbs me. And so I think we're going to yank that contract. But see, housing commissioners control a lot, and we control the dollars, but also we also can control legislative input long term. So in the last budget proposal, I see in the big beautiful bill BS. The one thing in affordable housing that was a positive thing is that there were approval for additional, it's called LIHTC, but additional tax credits for affordable housing for developers. I mean, I have feelings about that, but it seems like the way to at least start to appeal to them is for commissioners to actually band up together. So actually 85 of us have formed a commissioner network, and we're planning to activate other commissioners across the country, because I think if we collectively move with the shared agenda, that we can force developers to we can force their hand, so to speak. And I think that we have to start thinking strategically in that way, like which elected official, which government officials actually control the dollars that could help move forward our progressive ideals, and how can we put the pressure on these government officials as well as these mitigating parties like developers, for instance, family offices or whatever, and force them in that way. I think we have to start thinking kind of really outside of the box.
Yeah, and who's vulnerable?
Exactly.
Because they care so much about being primaried in their job. So
Exactly. I learned at the housing conference, commissioners, a lot of people who are appointed to the board, a lot of them to housing authorities, a lot of them, depending on the state, have chummy relationships with developers. But at the end of the day, though, most of us are aligned in the fact that we want affordable housing. We are aligned around affordable housing and really taking care of our residents. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're supposed to be aligned. And commissioners, we're kind of, I guess for a long time, we're just kind of this kind of behind the scenes background, like government officials that really people ignored. But now I think we realize, a lot of us are starting to realize that it's time for us to start to step out and assert the role a little bit more aggressively now that things have gone haywire. That's my 5 cents.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that we've kind of discovered in our county here, and very late to the game, is recruiting people to run for things like the Housing Commission, the Water Board, is really critical to getting things done, because they have a lot of influence. Things that people think the city council and the mayor do are done by things like the housing commissions and by the water board. And so getting people into these positions, and recruiting people to run for those offices. And we actually elected 2 people that had just graduated from college, in basically city management type of education, to run for some of these offices. So we now have people, because a lot of these people are 70 years old that are on these commissions. And I'm 70. I don't mind people that are 70, but we need some new innovation in there. And I'll tell you, they're bringing ideas and they're bringing change. Having, people in their 30s, running for office. We even have some people in their 20s. We had a guy in there, he was 25 years old, ran for the water board in a small farming community, just kind of in eastern Ventura County. And he won the election. And these are the kinds of things, these elections are not that hard to do, because they don't take a lot of money, number one. Number 2, it's, you can get volunteers. They have friends that'll come down and walk and knock on doors for you. And people don't know the names. So getting that name recognition by knocking on doors for these things. And this is going to be ramping up really quickly, because primaries are coming up. Before we know it, primaries will be here. And if we put those teams in place now and get people excited about it, we can start doing some big changes. And once you get those local people to change, they get the regional people to change, they get the states to change, and that's when you can really start having power to influence your congressional members, because they have access where we don't.
With or without the DNC, right?
Yeah, exactly. We have to start on the local basis, because I'll tell you, changing the DNC, changing the RNC, it's kind of a fool's game unless you are a billionaire. We all want to change it, but you have to go like, how can I change it? So you start at the bottom, and you get the people that can get to them. And I found it took me a long time to learn this. I just would not believe it. I just didn't think it would have an effect. And I'm beginning to see the effect. And I can now call Julia Brownlee, my representative's office. They know my name. Get to know the people in your local office, not the DC office. Get to know the people in your local office. And talk to them. But it's best if you can get a group of people, a small organization, and Republicans are beginning to go after these small organizations. CHIRLA, which Aaron mentioned, they are going after them in media now. They are basically saying a bunch of Marxists, they hate America. But these people are the boots on the ground that are really working hard in LA and getting some things done and actually protecting people.
Well, just as an aside I don't know if this is going to happen, but there's in the elections for the vice chair, there's a young woman of color who's come up through the ranks, Obama campaigner, White House staffer, has done a lot of work in Washington State, getting Dems elected up and down the ballot there. I know we're not trying to get into the parties right now, but I'm just saying, after David Hogg's exit in she's a friend and a colleague, a prior colleague from our work when I was in India, Shasti Conrad. So she's a youthful voice, and I'm hoping, and I think a progressive, and I'm hoping that, she'll bring some energy there, and maybe we put together all your recommendations. We can send it right over to her. I'm sure some of you already know her. Vice Chair, DNC Vice Chair.
The problem with the party right now is that the structure was invented to reify the power of elites, right? Like, the Democratic Party was built in an age when we didn't even have direct elections of our senators. And while there's been some reforms, those elites have always maintained the power structure that keeps them very, very powerful. And they do not invite new energy in. The RNC does a much, much better job of inviting new energy in, which is why the RNC and members of Congress come out of the Tea Party. But there really aren't many, our revolution candidates or indivisible candidates or swing left candidates or color change candidates, or there weren't a lot of candidates that came out of Occupy Wall Street. They didn't get into the county committees to become chairs. And the experience pretty much universally, close to universally, is I was building power, organizing communities, building for change. I had some contact with the Democratic Party, and they made it really clear that this wasn't the right place for me. And that comes all the way, throughout all the different organizations, the DNC, the DSCC, the DTRIP. Like, these organizations are built to serve a constituency that isn't a people power constituency.
They're built
And while
to
there
serve
are some
each
people
other.
who are while there's some people who are doing great work and are trying to make those changes, like, for me, I have long since made the decision that change isn't going to happen through the institutions that weren't designed for it. And to the extent that you can change those designs, that's what Rick said. Be inevitable. Build so much freaking power that they can't even resist you. The DNC right now is broke. They don't even have the power they usually have.
Yeah, I didn't, by bringing them up, I wasn't saying that they are the way forward. I was pointing out that hopefully there was some, I was looking for a glimmer of hope that there might be some agents of change in there, but maybe not. But I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying though isn't that there aren't any agents of change, and I want those people to be successful. Like, Cassie Conrad sounds great. I hope she, makes change, even if it's incremental. Make change wherever you are. But the thing that I think is really important in this, and why I'm saying it, is that a lot of people want to hope for a higher power to come down and deliver them. And the Democratic Party is often held up as like a higher power that could come and help us do that. And I just think it's better to act as if they're completely hopeless and do the work that you can do locally.
Well, that's good for democracy overall. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I just put into the chat, there's two guys here, both of them just out of college again. One of them's been out of college for a few years, but it's called elect.org. Very simple. Go to it. So they are recruiting people, training people to vote, raising money for them, finding campaign managers for them. And they just really launched a couple months ago but they got 4 candidates elected in the last election who locally here, including city council members in 2 cities in Ventura County. And that's a big deal. And they, they like to say we have 100% success rate, but they did. All the candidates that they supported got elected. And they're young, they're really enthusiastic. I met them through the Democratic Club, but when I went and had lunch with them, they said, we're not Democratic loyalists, we're getting things done loyalists. And they said, we know the power that the Democratic Party has, and we're going to take it, and we're going to use it. And so they are literally changing the party from the inside. And they're really remarkable. They're really smart. They're very, very dedicated. And, again, it's a little tiny organization that needs money. It's a local organization that nobody's ever heard about. But look in your community to see if you can find one of these and give them some money. Because, they're working mainly locally here, but they're starting to do some tours. They're planning on doing a little tour where they go to other communities and saying how they got this done. This is how we started. This is how we get this movement rolling and start taking control of the party back from the bottom up instead of from the top down. And it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be quick. And there will be a lot of resistance to it.
More than a third of Arizona voters are independent. So
same here in California. I mean, that's pretty much the way it is in every state, Dr. Francine.
So
most of the voters are independent.
So why do we have to, have any allegiance to the Democrats? As far as I'm concerned, the Democrats are crooked.
You don't have to have allegiance to the Democrat, but you have to have organization. And it's marketing. It's like, how do you defeat Coca-Cola? From the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, part of the answer to beating better Democrats is to be better Democrats, right? The one way that I really believe you can change the party, and I advocate for this in California, by the way, Rick, and feel free to steal this and make it happen in Ventura. There are lots of great organizations that all they would need to do is become a Dem club, and they would get power. So the way, at least in California, endorsement works is for every 20 members you have in your Democratic club, you get a delegate. And if you have enough members, you can really sway these things. Because, in the average Californian county, you've got about, let's say 800 to 1,000 people who are deciding who the party's going to recommend, or is going to endorse, I should say, in the primary. It's basically nobody. So you've got some of these organizations that have 800, 1,000 people in them on their own. And so you literally can sway endorsements just by saying, I think you have to pay you're like $5 a year dues or something. And you got to deal with some really annoying rigmarole around bylaws and whatever. There's a lot of arcane stuff, like hoops you got to jump through. But once you jump through them, you just have power within the party. You don't even have to meet except for once a year. And that would make a big difference. And you would actually change who the party is and make it more reflective of, the vision that you have for the future.
Yeah, and that's, you brought up a really good point about the delegates. I really didn't think, because I was an independent, and when I moved up to Oxnard, I tried to contact people in independent political groups. Nobody got back to me. And I'm going, well, what the fuck? They say they're independent. They're saying they want to take power from the parties. and nobody will call you back. Part of that is, of course, they don't have the people to do it. They don't have the resources to do it. So if you want to start an independent movement, you got to raise a bunch of money. You got to recruit a whole bunch of people with a common cause. And I discovered that it's easier to change the Democratic Party from the inside, not from the top down, not from the DNC. Forget that. You have to start at the club level. And that's how I was able to get a non-registered Democratic candidate to come and talk to our club, is because I said, screw it, I'm inviting her to speak to our club. And I don't care if the county frowned on it, you know. And she got elected, and she's now our county voter commissioner, and the Republicans hate her. She's an independent. She's not a Democrat. And these kids with elect.org, they are registered Democrats. They registered a Democrat to get in the door, but they are not loyal Democrats. They are not party, my party, love it or leave it Democrats. And we need a lot more of that, because that's really the only way we can change. You're fighting Goliath, and the Tea Party kind of did that with the Republican Party. And even the Tea Party is kind of minimalized now by the Trumpublicans. But Donald Trump went to the Republican Party for a reason. And, he didn't run as an independent for a reason, because he used the power that the Republican Party had to take it over. And we can do that and fix the Democratic Party. And if you want, hey, change the name of the Democratic Party to something else. But it's the values that we're fighting for, and not the institution.
Yeah, and I think the values. Go ahead.
I love the idea of changing the name of the Democratic Party, because the Republicans have so many things they say about Democrats and how evil they are. And I think it would sort of pull the rug out from the more I think about it, as someone who's dealt with words my whole life, pull the rug right out from under them by making this not the Democratic. Democrats.
I mean,
it would be fun to do.
I mean, the way this has been done in the past is, rather than rename it, you sort of, have your own brand within it, right? I mean, you've got the New Democrats, and, Obama kind of was a brand unto himself that people attach themselves to as Obama Democrats. And, that's, I think, usually the most effective way to get this particular thing done. Because, starting a new party is basically, starting a new party is extremely difficult. And also the parties, in frankly very corrupt ways, have made it almost impossible to do, even if you want to do it. You can't. It's not an easy thing to get on a ballot in many of these states. And lots of parties who, I may or may not agree with their politics, but I do believe they deserve to be on the ballot, have failed to do it. It shouldn't be that hard to get on a ballot. But the Democrats and Republicans have conspired against third parties to make it impossible. So, build a new brand, right? Separate yourself from the sclerotic Democratic brand that, is so deeply unpopular right now. And, take it and do something else with it. It's not going to be the work I specifically do, but I think I would love to see it. I think that's where there's actually an opportunity, is to, come up with whatever that new brand is for people to rally around that speaks to the problems of the day.
Oh, I was just gonna say in the comments section here, I see Frederick is going on about how the Democrats became elitist after Obama's term, and I do want to like kind of address that whole thought process. I mean, if you think about Barack Obama, he is the epitome of elitism. He went to Harvard. You know, he's an Ivy League grad. He was an attorney. I mean, that is the epitome of elitism, and it's really interesting that people equate Obama to not being elitist. I would say the Democrats became elitist because of Obama, if that makes any sense. But honestly, both political parties are elitist. I don't even know, you know, it's just, yes, he is the child of a single mom, but a single educated mom who was like a professor. And both of his parents were actually, you know, in the true sense of the word, elitist too as well. I mean, that there is that overarching story of being a single mom, but you want to, but honestly, the last president who wasn't actually elitist was Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton literally was the epitome of the non. Yes.
No way. Oh my
Yes,
God!
way.
Listen to the way he spoke. No, I know it's more than that.
And yes, but yeah, no, I mean, honestly, Bill Clinton from the Deep South, the poorest of the poorest, rising up from there. Obama wasn't the poorest of the poorest.
Where did he go to college? Where did he go to college? Where did Hillary go to college? Come on.
But Bill Clinton got, you know, became, I think he spent time at Oxford. He got to those places because of his intellect. He actually worked for that. I mean, his mother was poor.
Are you saying Obama didn't get there because of his intellect? I just want to ask that question.
No, he totally did. But the stories are completely different.
Well, one is middle class versus what?
Jimmy Carter was less elitist than Clinton.
Yes.
Come on.
Exactly. No, I know, but I'm talking about in the most recent history of the United States.
Just the fact that Clinton was from Arkansas, you know, was shocking to the East Coast.
Yes.
But also, I want to stop this narrative for a second because there are a lot of working class and middle class folks that work their tails off and sometimes get into Harvard. I'm not defending the institution. I'm not. I'm just saying that not everyone there is elite. Once you're there, you have access.
I'm not elite. I mean, I worked my ass off, and I also attended Harvard and NYU. But I'm saying that the everyday American, I guess, they are looking at things. You and I, we look at things differently because, I mean, you and I together, we have similar outlooks and look at things differently from the populace that Trump is appealing to, that somehow this person in our comments still, you know, Obama, yes, I think we need to just kind of stop romanticizing Obama, honestly, and just look at it. My sister said it best in 2008 when it all happened. My sister was like, this is like one of the greatest marketing campaigns ever. And it is true. Obama he is an intuitive marketer, and so was Bill Clinton. But they are two men from two different economic spectrums, and we need to accept that. Bill Clinton also, I mean, the reason people didn't look at the Democrats the way that they look at the Democrats now from the Clinton era is because Clinton came from the South. Clinton, I mean, everything that was the antithesis of what Obama is, coming from an intellectual, you know, state or whatever, you know, too, as well. And I mean, yes, I mean, I just want us to be like live in reality of what the populace is thinking and not what we're thinking, because we are, you know, I hate to say it, but we are also the elitists too as well. But elitism mind frame, we have to like kind of go back to basics and just kind of look at the history of our presidents, look at what was appealing about them, and then just like live in reality so that Democrats can actually, so on the left, we can actually reprogram ourselves and and get what what our populace wants. And yeah, I mean that is what it is. Unfortunately, I mean I hate to say it, but it is true. I don't think the Democrats are any more elitist than the Republicans at all. I mean, in fact, I think it's the reverse. But it's the overall perception of the Democrats as being somehow elitist more so than the Republicans. The Republicans thrive on economics, which is actually pretty elitist if you think about it. And we thrive on the left, we thrive on the working person. But for some reason, the roles are reversed. And I honestly think it's because of Obama. I don't care what anyone says. I really, honestly, how do we go from Obama to Trump? It makes no sense. And that is the only answer is because of that. But that's all I have to.
Well, personally, I want somebody elite in power. I don't want an elitist in power. I want somebody who's elite, which means they're very skilled. They're at the top of their game. I want an elite doctor to be operating on me. If I'm having a piece of furniture made by a woodworker, I want an elite woodworker. But I don't want them to be arrogant. I want some humility. You can be elite and humble. And, that's an ideal for me. It's hard to get, but I want the best. I don't want an elitist, somebody that says only we can be at the top, only we have the ideas. Probably the most elitist president is Donald Trump, because he really has people convinced that only he can solve problems. If there's anything that's elite, that's it.
Well, that's
God
narcissistic.
complex.
That's elitist.
But there's also a huge backlash. When we start to do this, I think we have another problem, which is the definition of elite and the inherent resentment about it, because we're seeing this is becoming a huge problem, is particularly with science, which is another front that we're dealing with, an assault on, leading scientists right now who have been screaming about Earth boundaries and what we're all facing, all of us, everywhere in different degrees, depending on where you live. But we are facing this backlash against science and knowledge, or a mounted backlash, I should say. But then that also feeds, that sometimes linked to these elite institutions, like what's going on with the cutting of the grants and the stopping international students from coming and removal of all these words from documents. So this is a very important discussion about what is elite and what isn't, and it's way beyond, it's beyond class for sure, and it's beyond race at this point. Although I'm pretty sure it's well grounded in race with the current situation, but it is something much bigger, and it's part of the playbook that happened in the 30s with, sorry to keep going back to that, which is the attacking what they call the elite, but the brain trusts in society. And I don't know how this is a very interesting topic, conversation worthy of a deeper dive.
Yeah, it is worthy of a conversation. It is 9 o'clock, so we can start with closing comments about. Okay, so what can we do this week? Is there anything that any specific action you can take this week to help?
5 calls out. Always still push on the big beautiful bill.
Big beautiful bill. I mean, this AI, no regulations on AI, it's still in the bill. 10 years, no regulations on AI. That scares the piss out of me.
You know what, Rick? I wouldn't make it's going to be, because it just isn't good enough. I mean, the big, beautiful bill had much worse things in it that had to do with like health care, like who is going to get cut out of health care and how to refinance Social Security so that it's still here in a decade. There are much more important things than regulating AI. You should read this book by Karen now.
You know what, Dr. Francine, I was in all those conversations, and there may be a kernel of truth in what you're saying, and may be all correct, and there clearly we've always shouted out the cuts to Medicaid and SNAP when we call, and when you get on the 5 calls apps, there's a number of suggestions on there of the priorities of things, including a lot of the climate provision and saving our public lands, which you sort of deprioritize after healthcare and cuts to SNAP, understandably. But if we're talking about throwing a wide net to a lot of people, anyway, it's all there on the 5 calls app. But I wanted to say that I was all after, as part of my Juneteenth celebrations up in Harlem, I was with an AI engineer from Silicon Valley, from California, last night. And as someone working every day, and it was exciting because she's an Indian woman, so it was exciting. Woman of color in AI, engineer, hardcore, hardcore algorithmic coding, the whole works. When I listened to her speak about this, I left feeling more unsettled than ever. The plan is to disrupt tons of industries, which is, maybe it'll be good. I think we don't know, but it was just the assuredness, the ease. It was a cultural phenomenon. It was the ease with which she spoke about something that was literally, they were building it to do all sorts of functions that are replacing people. And her belief is that truly, though people are going to lose jobs, that they are liberating them, like with the internet, to go on to do bigger, broader things that like they never could have imagined. And she talks very openly about how it will enable and empower the 1% of like superstars and genius. And I was sitting there and I thought, is she baiting me with this conversation? Or, I've been in too many clubhouse rooms, but it was, my hair totally like was standing on end, and it had nothing to do with the lightning and the electricity from the severe storms that were rolling through New York. It was wild. So while you may be correct, I think that I know a lot of people who are concerned about getting out ahead of it and getting their arms around it in a broader, stakeholder engagement way to shepherd in what happens and to just not leave it to the market, because it has much broader implications for society and our world than just making some businesses more efficient.
Yeah, well, the big beautiful bill, there's plenty in there that we need to remove. We've got to stop it. We've got to get some things into that bill and some things out of that bill. So that is definitely, use your 5 calls app and make sure that they know it. I'm also encourage your elected officials to rebrain. Encourage them. I mean, they arrested or detained like 9 elected officials this week. And that's a courageous thing to do, but it also shines a big spotlight on this is just really getting out of hand. So, they're detaining them. Somebody asked what charges. They're not really charging them. Some they're kind of detaining and releasing. It's a scare tactic, and they're trying to get people not to resist by scaring them. So there is some risk. There is its own, protesting won't get things done. We have to actually take actions. Protesting is a voice, but it's not an action. So we got to move that bar.
Did Ben leave, Rick? Because we have someone recording the room and streaming it on YouTube. And I don't know. Oh, I see. Hold on. So now I know we have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think thank you for folks about that.
There was a guy that used to come in here and record all the rooms, and I searched his YouTube channel, and there's like 3 listeners. You know, he's
Adrian did.
He's not the most amount of views he got on any video was screaming Trump's inauguration, and that was 1,000 people. Most of them are probably him and his mom watching it. So anybody else have anything that they recommend we do? Charlotte, you want to? Charlotte has a great business, a great website that I checked out this week, and coming up.
Aw, thank you, Rick. So glad.
I'm waiting for my product.
I know. It's actually sitting now. We just finished video bunch of production, so now we're going to finally get to stuff. I'm so excited. Literally.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to say is everyone, you know, in my community in Burbank, New Jersey, no one attends the housing board meetings, which is kind of interesting as members of the public. And I mean, I wish that more people would attend these local meetings. You know, I mean, for us as housing commissioners, there's the zoning boards too as well. There's the environmental commissions too as well. Members of the public should be attending these meetings, so you know what's going on, so you know the players in the room in terms of not just your elected officials, local officials, but also private entities that do deals with your city where you live. You need to be up on this, and members of the public, you need to attend these meetings. I mean, it's super critical now because a lot of these shady deals go under the radar because members of the public aren't even aware, you know, that even these meetings are occurring, even though your city has a website, has a list of all your local meetings. I mean, outside of city council, because most people just think of your local meetings as just your city council meeting, but no, every city, town in the U.S. has a number of commissions and a number of people appointed to these commissions, and they legally have to hold open these meetings to members of the public. And so I think that, you know, one of the biggest things you could do is to attend these meetings to know what's going on, to be honest with you.
Oh, I have a question for you. Because I have submitted email public comments to our housing commission. When you get those, do they read them at your meetings?
Yes.
And they read them out loud?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're supposed, at least.
Yeah.
They're supposed to. They're supposed to read them out loud, and the executive director, it's up to usually how, at least for us with the bylaws, the executive director kind of runs the meeting. And so all public comments they will get, and they should be reading all public comments, and the commissioners, the board, as well as the ED should be addressing the public comments.
Yeah, so this is something that, because I do this to because, you know, lots of times the meetings that I would like to public comment on are not happening at the time when I can make it. that's definitely a way to make things. But thank you for that, 'cause that's really good information. All right. Well, if there's not anything else.
Rick, I did have one
Yeah.
thing. Oh, looks like I changed my PTR to what they're streaming on YouTube, which looks like it's a phone with the view of the room. Anyway, so I'm not going to worry about this person. Thanks for the folks who have our back in the audience. I guess we always knew it's a risk of that. I don't know exactly what to make of it. Maybe we should take it as a compliment. But I wanted to share. I wanted to clarify something I put in the chat, which was during and Elle had kindly. I don't know if Elle is here. She is. Ella's been hiding often. I don't know if we're doing something to chase Ella away, but I wanted to say that she kindly offered to do a room with me, which we didn't get up and running, which was streaming and sharing with folks the interview, which I don't think got widely published, with Jasmine Crockett at the Tribeca Film Festival. And I've talked about it a number of times just because I thought it was, it's just so refreshing to see whatever you think of her stance and her tactics and her persona. She's just such a qualified, young professional, qualified, strong woman leader in Congress. And it has such an authentic voice and is so, just not taking any of it. And it is refreshing to hear that, and to meet her in person was just, so much. I have so much respect for her. I can't hide it. She could be any party, and if she was the same person, I would, be equally respectful of her. But she shared so many insights of what it was like to be in Congress right now and be on the front lines of the task at hand right now, as are certain leaders, also that they have a range of communicators in the party, some of whom are better than others, and that, like, the whole thing we were saying about the DNC earlier, she kind of distanced herself from the DNC, and but rather than do the full recap here, what I wanted to say is she shouted out the great need in terms of Solution Friday, education. So she shared the great need to talk about, to find ways to more effectively educate the electorate. And I know that we tend to shy away from that conversation in here on some level, but that it is part of the solutions. It is definitely part of the solution that is needed, which is more accessible, civics content delivered in a way that will actually reach and interest more people. And as part of that, a friend was sharing with me this PragerU, which is just, I think, one of the number one. So I'm just researching it a little bit more, but it's more the kind of it's a conservative, education. You can get a degree or a certificate, and it has a massive following. And there was a suggestion that we need a PragerU for either, just the facts, or for the left, or for the progressive movement. So that, as I've just put that out there, maybe it's something we can talk about at a future date. But as a solution, more civics education, and this is, perhaps mirroring or backing. One could argue that it's, universities in general were the alternate to PragerU, but I think it's a particular animal, and it's interesting to look.
It's very interesting to look at, and we are way behind the power curve in having done something in that direction.
I think just pointing people to Schoolhouse Rock and all those fabulous things that many of us grew up with, that my daughter is never, well, she's heard of it because I've made her listen to them, but we need some revival of that. I know at one point during the elections, I believe that when we all vote people, or some of the Obama folks started to get behind like a revival of that, or a new Schoolhouse Rock. And I just think we need to start getting more creative and almost even, building stuff that's even, it's civics, but it's not political. I don't, how can you talk about government and what it does in your life and community, how it impacts communities and families in a way that doesn't, make it political, that makes it more palatable and, really arms citizens with, stuff they, sadly need to know whether or not they want to know.
So, yeah, well, thank you. Speaking of schools, I was talking about The Simpsons did a schoolhouse conservative I'm an amendment. If you look up I'm an amendment Simpsons schoolhouse on YouTube, it's very funny.
And there is one for Project 2025, by the way, which is which is a
A
good one.
Simpsons episode?
No, sorry.
Simpsons.
No, not The Simpsons, but another one, which is quite funny and entertaining and scary.
So anyway, I did want to make an announcement that later in July, and I'm not sure exactly which week I'm going to talk to her on Sunday, but I put it in the chat. But there's a woman named Patricia McCoy. She was one of the founders of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is something that Trump wants to dismantle. She was tasked by Elizabeth Warren to start the agency, but she has a book out called Sharing Risk, A Path to Economic Well-Being for All. She has said that she's going to come and speak to us. So we will have a student author, and I'm hoping, I think Denise is going to maybe moderate, and I want to get people, Andrea, Al, Steve, I'd love to get you to, if you can read the book before then, that would be fantastic. But it's basically about a 50-year dismantling of our economic safety net and putting more risk onto individuals. And she has a plan to fix it and how we can do it. And I'm really excited to be able to get her to come on the show and talk about it. And, so anyway,
That's great.
it.
Rick, can you post the link for the book here for folks?
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Oh, already. Thank you.
Did I put it in the chat? I just put the name. But so I put it in the, I'll bring that. But it's called Sharing Risk, The Path to Economic Well-Being for All. Patricia McCoy is the author. And I recommend buying it like through the MIT Press Bookstore or University of California Press. Support our universities. Don't buy it from Amazon if you can. I know it's really easy on Amazon. I think it's a $30 book. I don't think it's out in paperback, but I think there is an audio book too, which, yeah. So anyway, it's available everywhere. It's a pretty easy read, and it is like a third of the book is citations, so she really does her work.
Do you have a date in July?
I don't. I'm going to talk to her on Sunday evening, and it'll be towards the end of July because she's pretty much booked up until the end of July. But she is kind of excited about coming on here and chatting to State Patriot Solutions people. So I'm excited about it. I'm trying to find a more elite person to moderate it.
I'll help Denise. I'd like to mod, but
Yeah.
I'm in Italy in July. We'll talk. I'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, and that's it. So I'm gonna play a little music. And
Thank you, Rick.
That's
Thank
it.
you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Monday again, we'll start up Dr. James, who I think has his big test is this next week. So we really have to encourage him and let him know
Elle, we miss you. We hope you're feeling well. And did you want to share anything?
I'm here. I just wasn't sure. Did you want us to try to do that after the show? Is that what you were going to do?
No, not today. Does anyone want to hear this interview with Jasmine Crockett or excerpts from it? I find it quite insightful and very good. If you do, how about you DM me and we'll share it. I don't think it's available on the internet. If it was, I'd just share the link. But I think it's important.
I can keep them if you want. I have to run, but if you want to keep them open, I'm playing.
That's okay. I was just checking in on my and then I just had a question. I realize I can't go very, very late, so I talked about it, but I was just really confused about why you were promoting bigger.
No, I'm not promoting it. I'm saying it is, yeah, and that's why I hope it didn't look like that in the chat. I was trying to show it. I have flagged it as I feel like where is the moderate?
Okay.
Yeah, where is the moderate version of this and or the progressive version of it? Where is the just fact? But I think it's
No, you don't want a progressive version of that because that is not a version of anything you want because it's totally propaganda and disinformation.
okay. Well, then I was coming from good civics, factual based, and something that has a zeitgeist behind it that could attract people. And I guess, maybe how do we make civic sexy is what I'm looking at. And it seems we can't win because when you get the celebrities involved, then there's a backlash and people disagree over that. Or when anyway, we can talk. This is also a question to talk about later.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, no, definitely not promoting it for the record, but I think it's an interesting thing to look at and parse out, what's good, what wouldn't we want, what works, and I just want to share, Rick, I'm trying to go. Last thing is that I'm trying to get my professor, Marshall Gantz, who was a big organizer for the farm workers back in the day in March with Martin Luther King. He's doing a huge, he teaches up at the Kennedy School and is based in Boston. And I bumped into him the last time I was in Boston on a walk. And he has decades of organizing experience and is doing a new course online if folks, are interested. It's not one of the free ones, but it's all about shifting the public narrative. And so it's very relevant to our times. And when and if I can get him, I'll do a lot of promo and get organized in advance.
Yeah, that'd be fun to get some of these organizers that are really having some success on here to talk.
Well, he's old school. He's old school and historic perspective.
Well, that stuff's great. So.
And I think knew Paolo Freire from Pedagogy of the Oppressed. So.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. And of course, Monday at 8:30 Pacific time is the Tuesday Patriots at 7:30. Dr. James has his rooms.
Oh, wait. Is Dr. James's exam on Monday? Oh, no. It's Tuesday.
I think it's definitely this week. So if we...
You mean next week?
Yeah, this next week. So it's
Yeah.
definitely, if you see him, tell him he's going to be able to. He's going to do it. And I think he has anxiety.
I know. That's why I'm mentioning it. So I want us all to put the vibe out there. The vibe that you just said. And by the way, I want to say this to the whole group. You can call this pros and comments, pros and wisdom. But I met you 4 years ago, Lord, and you have emerged as one of the wisest men I know. You are an amazing person, and the fact that when you first came on the app, didn't feel comfortable speaking is just absolutely phenomenal. So I want to say how much I love you and how